What is clear is you have Zillow now campaigning for a position as a leader in real estate. This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 362 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
A lot's happened in 2 weeks, Nicole. There is a lot to dig into here on Zillow being the first to make the move to ban publicly marketed off-MLS listings, never to be on Zillow's platform. You've had others that have joined Zillow, and then you have some that have railed heavily against it. There's some new information that is out here recently, just as of this week. It's an evolving story. We're going to break all of that down. We missed last week, so thankful to be back with all of you. Best way to support this pod and all of the YouTube content we put out is to just simply subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. We also have a story coming out of the state that I am sitting in right now, Florida. So Florida has a bill that is being pushed to cut licensing oversight. What does that mean? Florida Real Estate Commission might be going away. It's passed a couple of committees so far in the Florida House, would have to pass Senate. We'll break that down for you. But first, let's get into the big real estate news here, industry news of the moment right now. So Zillow was the first, along with a co-announcement with EXP. So Zillow taking a very strong position, EXP with leadership at CEO level, Leo Pareja taking a very strong position that if your listing is publicly marketed off the MLS, it will never be on the Zillow platform or EXP site, which obviously Zillow is the important one here because that's where the traffic, that's the highest level of traffic in the industry. You know, people think, oh, I'm going to Zillow that house. I'm going to Google that piece of information.
Zillow that house. Have you heard somebody say that? I'm going to Zillow it. Let me Zillow it.
Yeah, but I'm going to look it up on Zillow. Like, you know, it's become part of the word has become part of.
Right. It's like Q-tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 100%. Q-tip is a brand, but that's what you refer to a cotton swab. Okay. So
yes,
that's exactly it. You don't search on the internet, you Google it. And when people search for homes, they Zillow it. I mean, it's become part of buyer speak, whether you like it or not. It just is what it is. So it's important, obviously, what they're doing with the rules of engagement on this market. I mean, it's a marketplace. It's an eBay. It's a whatever. And so
is eBay around? Is people still eBay?
eBay's around. Yeah. eBay's around.
You
Amazon
eBay?
Obviously would be maybe the better comp, Nicole.
Yeah.
eBay's, been passed by Amazon, but still certainly around. I've never eBayed.
I've eBayed when my kids were little, man, to get those toys for Christmas. It was like my best friend.
Those little, the little stuffed animals. What were those?
Well,
called?
no, they didn't do those. My daughter was into like the Monster High dolls or something. I don't know, like the big head. There was like the heads that were like, I feel like they were weapons.
Yeah. All the crap like that ends up on eBay.
Correct. But that's where you had to get it.
So Zillow makes that stance. EXP, Next Home, James Dwiggins, quickly aligned, obviously, there. Redfin also jumped in. They also publicly ban this publicly marketed off MLS listing from their port. So somebody, I was on vacation last week and somebody texted me, or I think they sent me a tweet on X. They said, hey, it was a tweet on X. They said, what's Redfin going to do? I said, whatever daddy says. Okay. Whatever Rocket tells them to do is what Redfin's going to do.
Clearly you were enjoying your vacation because you were now responding to things.
Yeah. And so, it's like, whatever, but clearly Rocket taking the position that Zillow has taken, they're going to side with Zillow. So that's two of the big three portals. Haven't heard from Realtor.com on this. We have heard from Homes.com. Homes.com CEO Andy Florance just came out absolutely swinging in a public letter Says Zillow's moves a pure power play of epic proportion, arguing that the policy prioritizes Zillow's lead generation model over agent autonomy. Of course, we know where Compass stands, and Compass. If we just look at some of these Instagram, let's look at the Instagram from today, or actually from yesterday, from Robert Reffkin, the CEO of Compass. This is what he says: Zillow's banning homeowners who don't give them their publicly marketed listings is like Google saying, if you advertise anywhere, you must advertise on Google. And if I see you advertise anywhere else, even a social post, newsletter, or postcard for more than one day, and you haven't advertised it on Google, then I'm going to ban you from ever being on Google. Is Zillow really protecting the buyer and the seller, or is Zillow protecting the MLS and its free listing supply chain? So that's Robert Reffkin's stance. Obviously, Compass exclusives is what is being banned here. It's one of the examples of what's being banned. A property that is listed to a select group,
Yep.
but hidden from others. Okay, so that is what's not permitted
So wait,
in
but once
Zillow's
it's
ban.
no longer on that site though, and it goes onto MLS, Zillow will then put the
No,
listing on there.
Zillow's ban is if it ever goes on that site,
It never gets to go on MLS.
then it never
I
gets
mean,
to
it never
go on
gets to go on
Zillow.
Zillow, even when
Yeah,
it becomes public on MLS.
that's correct.
Okay.
If you partake in marketing, here's the big thing, because there is a lot of confusion on this.
There's
So,
a lot. That's why I'm asking.
yep, there's a ton of confusion. So, what is not permitted with Zillow's new listing access to their portal, to their marketplace?
Mhm.
What is not permitted? If you have a listing that is marketed to a select group, think Compass exclusive.
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt the pod. If you're seeing this within the first 24 hours of the pod being released, make sure you jump into BAMFest, now bamfest.com. It's noon Eastern time on Wednesday. So within 24 hours of the release of this pod, we will be releasing our biggest speaker ever. I'm shocked we got this person. You want to be there. It's absolutely free. It's now bamfest.com. I'll put the link below so you can find it. We'll put it at the top of the description so you can find it easily. Now enjoy the rest of the pod. But hidden from others, so it's hidden from Zillow and from Redfin and Realtor.com, etc.
Yep.
That would not be permitted. So if you want to take it off of that, and 90% of those Compass exclusives end up on the MLS.
Correct.
So 90% of those now going on the MLS would never end up on Zillow. That is not permitted. What is permitted under Zillow's new standards, and this is where I think a lot of the confusion sits, so hopefully this will at least clear up what the Zillow's new standard is. Whether you agree or disagree, I'm not going there, and I'm
'Cause
just telling you.
I think we were a little confused too because there was just that whole lawsuit sort of over this. Remember?
I mean,
That company
the
that got shut down. They closed their doors and
Rex,
then they
yeah.
sued Zillow. Yeah. So, okay. Sorry. Keep going.
So what is permitted? True private listings that are not marketed online. So if it's a private listing but doesn't go online in other places like Compass exclusive, that would be permitted. You end up going on the MLS. Now you can go on Zillow. Okay. Office exclusives within a brokerage. So you take an off-market property in Sachem's Head in Guilford, Nicole,
Mhm.
and it's waterfront and it's beautiful. And you tell the office, I got this office exclusive. You can market it to the brokerage. Okay. Now, if that seller decides, let's go public, let's go MLS, you go MLS, that can go on to Zillow. Okay. Coming soon and delayed marketing listings entered into the MLS. So here's where a lot of the confusion is, because it says, it's the MLS rule, which is like, you got to have it entered into the MLS within 24 hours. It
Right.
means you can't have a sign, you can't do social media advertising. People are like, if my sign goes up 24 hours early, I'm not going to end up on Zillow. No. You just, I'm not defending it. I'm just telling you what the rules are
Yeah.
right now. Okay. You just have to follow the MLS rules. Like in our MLS, and every MLS is different. I get it. We have coming soon. We have a delayed listing form. You can sign a listing, delay it, get all the photos ready, submit to the MLS, then do coming soon, then go active on the MLS, and all of that's going to be in
Yeah, I
compliance.
can't imagine there's many listings that don't have a delayed form. I mean, I've never, you know?
At this point, and if you don't have one, it certainly should be coming. That is the way. I mean, to take a listing and to go on the MLS within 24 hours is a disservice to the seller because you need to invest in all of the marketing. And so that's where that delayed listing comes in. But what you're doing when you sign the delayed MLS form is you're saying, hey, I'm not going to be publicly marketing this online. We're just delaying for, essentially to get the seller ready, get the home ready. Then either we're going into coming soon on the MLS or we're just going straight to active mode. Okay. Um, Also permitted under Zillow's new standards is the FSBO. They're not discriminating against the for sale by owners. So realtors hate me. Going to be happy with this. Going to be supportive of this. Uh, Rentals and new construction homes are permitted under Zillow's new standards. So really what you have to think about is what's not permitted is when you do essentially what Compass is doing. That's the best comp.
It sounds
Okay.
like, yeah, I mean, how, yeah, yes.
We'll get into a little bit more here on Compass, but so they've got this new listing access standard. Number one, this is and you just saw. Listen, Zillow. These are titanic battles happening at the CEO and executive level. Errol Samuelson from Zillow, he's been around a long time. He's a very bright individual. Like he's not going to get run over. He's not going to make a legal misstep. I know some of the heat that Andy Florance is going to throw his way, and Robert Reffkin it's going to be flashy. It's going to be hot, and ultimately they may win in the end. I don't know. But what I'm saying is there's a true competitor in what Zillow's offering on the other end. Errol Samuelson put a LinkedIn post up at Zillow. We believe that every buyer, seller, and agent deserves equal access to information. Our new listing access standards. So they have a standard. They own the site that requires a listing marketed to some buyers should be available to all buyers. Their standards reinforce this belief that is a belief of Zillow's. While few argue that buyers and sellers might benefit from exclusive private listings, the reality is that they create an uneven playing field. Buyers who are not able to access these hidden listings are at a significant disadvantage, missing out on potential opportunities simply because they aren't aware of the listings or were already working with an agent who didn't have access to these listings, right? So what he's saying is like, okay, you're working with an EXP agent and it's a Compass exclusive and EXP didn't have access to it. Or, I mean, you would have access to it in that case because it's going to be on their website potentially, the Compass exclusive website. But it's, it'd be like, what the argument here is, okay, you might say, well, it's on Compass exclusive website, so you should be able to find it. But like, you're now what are you going to look at 10, 12, 15 different websites to get all of the inventory? It's like you're going back to the 80s where it's like, okay, I got to stop on Main Street at CB and look at their real estate book. I got to stop at Remax and look at their real estate book. I got to stop at every brokerage shop to see what they're going to show me in the office to understand what's on the market outside of what I can see on the newspaper.
Right.
And so the argument is we're going back to that type of, if you're going to have all of these little segmented markets, it's not a true marketplace. If you're going to buy a stock, you know where to go. Okay. Like you're going to see the same stocks on Fidelity that you're going to see on Robinhood, that you're going to see on Webull. Like you're going to see stocks on downloading the app. You're going to, get the stock. And that's the position Zillow's taking is like, if you're going to download Zillow, if you're going to download Redfin, if you're going to download realtor.com, that you should be able to see all the listings. All the buyers should have access to all the listings. So they announced their standards on April 10th, of course, and now a lot's happened since then. But they believe it's a standards consumer first step that promotes fairness in real estate. The consumer advocates in American real estate issued a white paper on the topic, National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, which highlighted the fair housing concern. Private listings network present. So, pointing towards some of those that agree. Some of the consumer watchdogs here, Nicole, do agree. CPC is in agreement. CPC is the Consumer Policy Center. And they said private networks can be harmful to both sides. Private listing networks limit buyer access to homes for sale and promote misleading, disadvantage choice for most sellers. Networks would severely limit marketplace transparency and could well subject both buyers and sellers to manipulation by unethical brokers. DOJ is kind of not taking a real stance. They've said things both ways. In the past, they've talked about taking a look at like clear cooperation policy, which is now kind of done with. NAR, changed their stance on this, just recently here, which is why Zillow's coming out and taking a position. It's unsure the antitrust concerns and DOJ scrutiny that might come out of this. Stephen Brobeck, who's a senior fellow at CPC, said the efforts of some big brokers are likely to not only disadvantage buyers and sellers, but also reduce competition. The U.S. Department of Justice should take a close look at potential antitrust violations by those brokers who use deceptive practices to try to dominate markets. Okay. So, it's unclear what DOJ is going to do. And, what is clear to me, Nicole, though, before we get into a couple more recent comments on this, including another Robert Reffkin post here just today, in fact, what is clear is you have Zillow now campaigning for a position as a leader in real estate. They're taking a clear stance. EXP is with the leadership of Leo, the CEO, is taking a clear stance. In fact, EXP, Sharon, our buddy Sharon, talks about, hey, business models are going to be built because of the changes that are happening, changes like this. New business models are going to be built. EXP CEO takes this and Leo Pareja runs with it and creates a business model. EXP just launched and they open sourced it. I love what Leo's doing every time he creates a form for two reasons, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's a one-page form. I love a one-page form.
Those are your favorite.
Two, he open sources it for the whole industry. So he's saying, hey, obviously listings should be available for everybody. He's saying, hey, my forms that I create aren't just going to be for my agents. They're available for everybody. You can go on nowbam.com. We'll link it up down below and you can see the form. And the advisory form that is linked, it says seller advisory, risks of limited market exposure. Okay. Limited buyer exposure, financial risk, longer time on market. You can read the whole thing. No public portals. Okay. EXP Realty strongly encourage it. You could white out EXP Realty and put your brokerage if you want to use this thing. They strongly encourage you to consider exposure. I don't know if that's legal or not. So just a little legal disclosure. I don't know if that's legal to manipulate this form, but
I was going to say, but this is fun just to.
I think you could do that. And actually, I don't even think
we all know how you
mind.
feel about forms anyway. They mean nothing.
They do mean nothing.
Yeah.
Forms do mean nothing.
So
I mean, forms are. I mean, now they mean nothing, right? Like, oh, you need a buyer agency, but the buyer agency can be canceled at any time, at any moment, on any whim. So yeah, they really do mean nothing. But this one-page form is interesting because while it, like I say all the time, forms mean nothing these days in real estate, but this is a way to have full disclosure. I mean, Nicole, we have buyers sign, we recommend inspection.
Right.
Like if you don't do inspection to win the offer, we're recommending against that, essentially.
Yes.
Like we advised inspection, you're waiving right for inspection, acknowledging the risks of waiving inspection. That is a form that obviously comes down to liability, but a form that we're using. So EXP strongly encourages you to consider exposure to the broadest market possible, which includes the MLS and broader public marketing channels available to all consumers prior to accepting an offer. So just putting it out there. It's one page. It's simple. It's what Sharon talks about. Like, there's going to be leaders in this space that create business models around the change. Leo Pareja, EXP, doing that job. So leadership, Zillow, leadership here, Leo Pareja, EXP, leader camp. Okay. They're picking a position. Now, on the other side of it, Andy Florance, he's got his own leadership style. The letter was scathing that he wrote. Rob Reffkin, Robert Reffkin, in his years of building Compass, has been I'm not saying he's not being unprofessional, not at all. I'm saying he has been super professional, like kind of like what you would expect out of a CEO. I mean, he is now, I'll show you an Instagram post that he posted today. He is just straight up like, let's meet in the baseball field after the bell rings and let's go.
Oh, yeah?
Right? Like,
Again, I keep on hearing Wild Wild West. I'm thinking more it's gonna be like a shootout, like a
I don't know. He's just rolling up his sleeves and he's taking off that sports jacket that what's the magazine that screwed him? What, The Real Deal? They didn't put him in a sports jacket. He's taking off he's not worried about being pictured in a sports jacket anymore. He's taking it off. He's rolling up his sleeves. Meet me at the Diamond after school. And he's kind of, to
he's
me,
being personally attacked, essentially.
I'm sure that's how he feels.
Of
Obviously,
course.
I don't know that, but I'm sure that's how
Well, especially if Zillow is sort of aligning with EXP too. It's not like Zillow just came out and made this announcement sort of on their own. It was like,
yeah.
they were like coupling with, others.
Yeah, they're looking for to when you build a lobbying effort, you're looking for more leverage, more pressure
Yeah.
points. And so what I see Robert Reffkin doing, I mean, he is leading like Andy Florance style. I mean, listen, I haven't been in the room, but I've heard stories like Robert Reffkin and Andy Florance. They've spent time together, along with other CEOs in the industry. Super Bowl suites. Okay, Andy Florance has been known to buy some Homes.com to buy some Super Bowl suites at recent Super Bowls. Andy, love an invitation to this year's Super Bowl.
So fun.
Wouldn't mind being in the room. And Robert Reffkin is one of those sitting right next to Andy. I'm not an eyewitness. I'm telling you what I've heard from multiple people. So, he's taking a page out of Andy Florance's book on how he's leading. So you could be on either side of this debate right now, but those are forms of leadership that we're seeing, and they're creating business models around it. Zillow's creating business model. Compass is creating business model. They're EXP with their form, business model. Who's not leading? NAR. I mean, they're just sitting back. They're not even refereeing.
They're definitely not refereeing.
WrestleMania just happened this weekend.
Oh, it did. Did you watch it?
I actually saw bits and pieces of it because I was at a friend's for Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
And they had WrestleMania. I was like, this is amazing.
Amazing, right?
And I went to a WrestleMania.
You did?
And I sat front row way back in the day.
Like Hulk days?
This was Stone Cold, Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels days, these days, Triple H days. And Mike Tyson was a guest referee.
So fun.
And it was an unbelievable event. Got to keep the chair.
Did it look even more fake in person than it does on television?
No, it's the real deal. It's not
real
fake, by the
deal.
way. So these are tremendous athletes.
Oh, I'm not denying that they're not athletes.
If you grew up in the Northeast, then formerly WWF, WWE, it's a fantastic.
It's what I grew up on. I mean, I loved it.
Mike Tyson's the guest referee. He was a big part of the main event. Okay. NAR's not even the guest referee, never mind the referee. Yeah. They're not doing anything. And their lack of leadership on this is really telling. When they came out with their new updated CCP, it really meant we're going to do nothing and let everybody else figure it out. Well, that leaves space for a new association, a new industry leader. And if it's going to be Zillow, I mean, the clip that you watched on TikTok, I watched it as well, Nicole. Um, about the next story we're about to talk about here with the
Yeah.
Florida. He's talking about the National Association of Zillow. He kind of lost me there. He brought up some good points with the whole Florida thing that we're about to talk about right now. But you almost like you have from, from a federal level right now, you have all this decoupling of, government agencies.
Everything.
And it seems like you have that right now in real estate where there's this real thirst to just go to the wild, wild west, go to just almost no rules, no mechanisms for controlling, what can and can't be done. Okay. Rob Reffkin post railing against some of the rules that Association of Realtors have today. And this is, I mean, I like this stuff. I mean, I have been a heavy critic of some of the fines that these associations levy against people for many years for different reasons. This one happens to be on clear cooperation. So he posts it straight to Instagram, just blacking out the office phone number, the exact county that this association was. Clear cooperation is an NAR mechanism to fine agents who don't enforce the MLS listing monopoly. Last month, and he puts the fine in the photo on IG just 3 hours ago, Nicole. It's already got 1,400 plus likes. Last month, a Compass agent was fined $2,750 for putting a sign in a client's yard while helping her client. This month, another agent was fined $2,500 because the sign installer installed the sign too early. Then she was kicked out of her MLS after writing emails defending herself to the president of NAR. By the way, the president of NAR gets emails all the time. And a lot of the responses are just like, deal with it on the local level. The MLS responded via email with, please have Compass immediately send all of these recipients an apology, or the MLS name will be left with no choice but to file an Article 14 case against the agent. And so post the ethics fine of $2,750 on IG, just completely calling out the standards of which the associations are currently operating. I have a lot of problems with the associations. So listen, when you get now we don't know the other side of this particular case here with that Revkin posted. But if you take it on the face of what Revkin is saying is like the sign installer installed the sign too early. Like you can't control the sign installer. And
It
then
happens
you're going to
all the time.
and if it's 3 days too late, you're going to have a really mad client.
For
Like,
sure.
do you know how many, the client just thinks, do you know how many buyers we could have missed
Yeah.
in the last 72 hours not
You
having a
had one job,
sign?
put up my sign. Yeah.
It always happens on the rural road where it's like only your neighbors are driving by anyway. Like, who do you think's driving by? but listen,
They are. The seller is driving by.
the seller's driving by and not seeing the marketing being done and
Right.
the marketing that was promised, and it's 3 days late. It's sloppy. Rather be 3 days too early on a sign. And I know that goes against what
Well, but the sign should have a
the
phone
letter of
number,
the
so
law in the
call the
MLS
phone
is.
number, and then like many times that happens. So many times,
Yeah.
No.
And so, to get the sign up at the exact moment means the agent needs to put it up. Now, I know a lot of agents put up their signs, and that's obviously a business model choice on the agent doing what I would call administrative prep work for their listing, as opposed to hiring an installer. The argument for that agent that's doing that administrative work is like, I can control the timing of the sign, and hey, maybe somebody drives by at that moment you're installing the sign and says to the hey, sign installer, can you do you know the agent? Do you
Hey,
know the
guy.
agent on the and you can pick up a lead, and you can let them know that you're the agent. So listen, there's I think a form of leadership, and what Sharon talks about, business models that are being formed today because of all of this. This is not a story that's going to go away. This is the debate of the year. Last year was the lawsuits. It's all about this stuff right now.
Yeah.
we'll see if anything from the federal level chimes in on this. Attorneys are chomping at the bit. What is it? At the bud? At the bit?
The
The
bit.
butt?
The butt? No, it's not the butt. Where have you
They're chomping.
been? Chomping at the bit.
Chomp. I think it's
It's like a
yeah.
horse bit.
They're chomping
Yeah,
at
they're
the
not chomping at your butt. Oh my lord.
sitting on the sidelines,
What's
waiting to
happening?
waiting to file some lawsuits. Okay,
What
and
I do think is interesting though, again, their main line is if a listing is online, it should be online everywhere. But they're contradicting themselves by not putting it everywhere if you were somewhere first. Right?
if it's online, it should be everywhere.
Yes.
Contradicting themselves where?
Well, but what I'm saying is if somebody puts it on that Compass site and then puts it on MLS, they're not putting it on Zillow. So they're contradicting what they're saying because it is essentially online. It just won't be on their site.
Right. This is the stick, right? The carrot is if you want to end up on Zillow, 90% of Compass exclusives end up on Zillow, on MLS to Zillow anyway. If you want that carrot, you got to obey the stick. And so they're coming out with their version of the stick. That's that's their business model right now
I
and
get
their
it.
rule. And unless somebody tells them, it would have to be like DOJ level to tell Zillow what they can and can't do. They'd have to be some type of like antitrust argument
Yeah.
that would tell them differently, because right now it's their website, it's their decision. They're making that decision as much as obviously
Compass is
Compass and
making the decision too. Yeah, I get it.
Andy Florance are going to go the other direction. And listen,
But let's be honest though, at the end of the day, it's the seller. The seller is deciding to go on the Compass site exclusive.
right. So that means you're on the compasshomes.com side. If you're saying that is, if it's only the seller's decision,
Yeah.
to make that move, then now Zillow is saying it's unfair that you can't go on to Zillow, or Compass is saying it's unfair that you can't go on to Zillow after. But I hear you, like, and I love the form that EXP came out with. I think in all of the LinkedIn posts, everything else, that one form is a useful tool. Like you can use that as an agent. Whether you can use that as an agent even if you're promoting an exclusive opportunity. It is interesting. I will just say this. It is interesting how many Compass exclusives there are. The script is very strong for Compass to say to get that much. And Compass agents are, certainly very supportive of this. They have their script down. They're working this thing. And so it's interesting. Now, Redfin also had a little twist. They came in and they want there to be a new way to do coming soon that doesn't show any days on market. So they want to take it as they kind of want to look at another business model. They're saying, hey, go coming soon, revamp coming soon, where the MLSs won't show days on market. That's what they're saying is ultimately people want this private exclusive experience because they're able to test
Yeah.
a portion of the market
'Cause
without
it's
racking
technically
up
not
days on
on the
market.
market, right? Because you can't show it. No one can go in it. Like,
Agents, we all want and need more listings. We want to be able to capture the business from our clients. So it means we need to stay in front of them, front and center when they're thinking about real estate, when they're making a real estate decision. So I love what Reminder Media is doing for agents across the country, producing high quality physical and digital magazines where you can tell a full story about what's going on in your community, what's happening in the market, and reminding people that you are the expert that they should be reaching out to when it comes to making a real estate decision. Reminder Media is a resource that you need in your corner to stay in front of your clients. You also get a free sample magazine by using the link that I'll put right down below. Check out Reminder Media and everything that they have to offer you and helping you stay in front of your clients. Well, the Compass exclusives you can go in it.
well, no, but I'm talking about a coming soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But coming soon, at least you can take the temperature of how much interest there's going to be without racking up days on market. And so rarely do I agree with Redfin. I agree with that tweak that MLSs should make. Like make sure that days on market, like if I go and look at our recent coming soons on Zillow, for example, I can see how many days ago it was posted as a coming soon. So that's kind of the same thing as days on market.
Right.
Um, and so if you didn't have days on market coming soon, if you're following the letter of the law of not doing the showings like you're talking about, Nicole, and whatever, yeah, you shouldn't have to rack up days on market. I like that. And because now it's like, man, my aspirational price was a little aggressive.
Aspirational. Yeah.
It was aspirate. It began with an A and an S, and it's something
Or
that I
maybe
should
your
tweak.
seller's aspirational price was a mess.
Yeah. Florida's aspirations right now, or at least some of those inside of the Florida House, have aspirations to take the Florida Real Estate Commission, FREC, and just completely dissolve it. This is a new bill that was presented back on February 28th by Michael Yurkowski. This is a Taylor Michael Yurkowski. Sorry, this is House Bill 1461. This is a Republican in the Florida House, and it was changed on April 7th. A 389-page amendment was added to eliminate FREC entirely. So they want to do away with the Florida Real Estate Commission. This is under the Florida Real Estate Commission. That board is under the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, DBPR. Okay. So the responsibilities currently handled by FREC are licensure, so getting licensed, who has a license, enforcement of the license, and disciplinary actions. Okay, that would all be now absorbed instead of the board, FREC, doing it. It would just be absorbed by DBPR. We referenced that TikTok post. There was an agent in Joseph Goodman out in Texas posted saying, you know, you're basically not going to have a license. That doesn't appear to be the case. It's unclear what DBPR's role would be in getting would-be licensees licensed and holding standards and ethics and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't appear that licenses would go away, and it would just be completely,
Right.
a free-for-all. Right now, there's 320,000 active licensees in Florida, and then 100,000 inactive licensees, making up 420,000. I think like 260,000, at least according to that TikTok video, about 260,000 or more are NAR.
They are, yeah.
So it doesn't specify how they would handle FREC's current workload, or whether additional staffing would be provided or disciplinary measures. Now, Nicole, these little commissions, sometimes I don't know what the deal is in Florida, but sometimes they are overstaffed to the degree of like they don't have anything else to do. So then they create rules that are unnecessary. Like they did it up in Connecticut. Like, oh, let's make all teams change their
I
names
knew we were headed
and
there.
pay a fee every single time they add or remove a team member to the Department of Connecticut's DP version of this is consumer protection. Let's just create taxes on teams because enough independent brokers who can't do as much business as teams because they focus on whining instead of doing, complained enough and created this new fee. That's where some of these boards, it's like you have nothing better to do than take the calls of people who lack the ability to take action and grow their business, that they're just trying to put a tax on other people's business. So like, listen, I would go the other way. I'd make licensing more of a thing to achieve, an apprentice, and oversee that, like the standard of holding a license, keeping a license. Somebody has to do that. You shouldn't be able to transact real estate from a brokerage level without a license. So listen, Nicole, this has got to clear another House committee. Then it goes to a full House vote. Then it's got to clear a Florida Senate. Then DeSantis would have the ability to sign off on it. He could speak publicly about it before then. DeSantis is obviously the governor of Florida.
I'm just surprised that there's like not really anywhere in here that's going over like what would be there in its like
basically
the place of it.
from what we can read, there's an article on BAM. We'll link it down below. And HousingWire's written on it and others. But
Because the commission is overseen by their DBPR, so I'm assuming they would just take it on,
they're
right?
getting they're absorbing it.
Yeah.
But there's no indication of how they would
So it's not
basically
like it's
do the
going
responsibilities of
away,
it.
it's
It's not
just
going away.
yeah.
So, but it's got a lot of concern from agent level. I got a couple messages from agents, um, looking for there's just not enough information coming out of Florida of what this might look like.
Right.
Florida Association of Realtors is lobbying against this. So the Florida Association of Realtors is, their position is clear. Florida Realtors said it will continue lobbying against the measure in its current form. They add that it remains committed to engaging with stakeholders and lawmakers to shape any future changes to the real estate industry oversight. You know who hasn't commented on this? And the TikTok makes, from Texas
Who's
agent
that,
there makes it.
Byron?
Yeah, it's NAR. Okay. And I get it. It's a Florida issue, so maybe NAR doesn't. But lack of leadership is apparent all over the map with NAR. And listen, if you're pro keeping CCP, just going back to that, like you've got to be pro holding NAR accountable. And for all of those that I hear are super pro CCP, or super pro whatever, like, hey, keep Florida Real Estate Commission. I mean, I'm not hearing a lot of them being pro NAR or not necessarily pro NAR, but pro accountability holder of NAR. I'm not hearing enough of that, because if you want somebody to come in and help, you got to drag them in, because they're not right now. NAR is not freely jumping into any fight. They are sitting in Chicago and DC and drinking those $300 bottles of wine. That's
While they
kind of
still
what I'm saying.
can. While they still can.
Hey, they loaded up $300 bottles of wine. We'll see what happens on the
It's no
floor.
wonder everybody in the world is so anxious these days, huh? Boy,
Is that the deal? Everybody's anxious.
I just feel like I don't know. I mean, it's just like, what's gonna come next,
Take some.
Some gummies?
I was gonna say take some gummies. I was gonna say creatine gummies, but I don't know if creatine helps you're anxious.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I just got again, I feel like every day I am, I was on Instagram and what's the word when you're, you know
Scrolling.
well, no, I was scrolling, but they influenced me. I found this creatine for
There's a word for getting
yeah,
influenced.
influenced. I couldn't think of that word. I got
Okay.
influenced. There was a creatine for women that's supposed to help with, like, that perimenopausal anxiety.
Uh,
But anyway.
This is not a health. I'm not a health
No.
expert. Disclaimer. But I think creatine is for everybody. It's not just a
No, no, no,
women
there was
men
this
thing.
specific one for
Oh, they put a
women.
pink label
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah. They're "Why can't you get defined arms?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Why can't I?" And then I was in. I
I'll send
fell,
you an actual good
and then I
creatine.
was like,
I've used creatine for a
I
while.
can't, like, why
What do you
can't
got? What's yours, Haley?
Dot Fit.
Oh, I haven't heard. I brought creatine gummies on vacation because I didn't want to bring the powder. I don't want to eat
Yeah.
gummies every day, but I brought the gummies to the vacation because I don't want to have powder
I
and
like
drink
chewing on
powder.
gummies. I do my hair thick because I try to get my hair to
Anything
go
that's a
back.
gummy is like less more effective than
Oh,
a
really?
powder. Yeah.
I hate pills.
I know. I used to
I
take the
use
multivitamins,
creatine, but then it gets stuck in my cup of water, and I have to keep
You got to get
taking
good
it,
creatine. It won't get stuck if you get good
or you just take just, I
powder.
guess, swallow it. But anyway, we
It's
are
got to be that Colombian stuff, really nice and fine powder.
Colombian?
Won't get
Oh
stuck
my
anywhere.
god, we're
Oh, I'm thinking of
sorting it
something else. I'm thinking of something else.
now? What's
Uh,
happening? We've
all
lost
right.
control.
Let us know what you think. What side of this whole thing are you on? This is playing out in real time. I believe I'm going to be speaking on it at the gathering, HousingWire's gathering. They've got me on a panel with James Dwiggins.
Where is the gathering?
It's in Colorado Springs, I believe.
I love the name.
Yeah. And so I think I'm on this panel, Nicole, almost to be like, because I know what side James Dwiggins is on. Very pro keeping CCP, the Zillow stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, listen, you're
Are you
trying to
gonna
run
take
me up
your
there to be.
sport coat off for this, or are you gonna, like, play it
I'll be.
cool?
The question is, will I wear a sports coat? But I probably will. A professional environment.
Yeah.
Got to be professional in those environments. But I'll probably take a different position, and it'll be along the lines of I'm not trying to ride the fence. I'm just trying to say, like, if you're so pro CCP or so keeping, like, CCP was invented by NAR. So where's the accountability on NAR?
Right.
And so I see a lot of people being pro CCP, but not holding NAR accountable, which has basically ended CCP and has created the Instagram post from Reffkin and the LinkedIn post from Zillow. Listen, I agree. 99.999% of sellers should publicly market their listing to everyone because it's just good business.
I mean, what seller wouldn't?
It's just smart business. You know, what's better, putting your bureau that you want to get rid of at the end of the driveway and say, make me an offer, or putting it on Facebook Marketplace so everybody in driving distance can see it?
Mm.
It's good business to put it onto the marketplace.
I love Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. So
I get stuck on there.
I don't mind.
If we got something to sell, like, oh, it's a great, and it's only in Brantford. Yeah. I can get that.
Yeah, I let my wife deal with that. I'm not a big Facebook Marketplace. They had a lot of creeps on there. That's the thing. So,
oh, I'm sure.
I guess I shouldn't be letting my wife deal with it with all the creep.
Well, maybe
I always say, like, you know, you really got to be careful on that.
For sure.
I don't know. All right, you got to be careful, anyways. Realtors always got to be careful. Realtor safety is a big deal. All right, let's jump into the comments, see what you guys think on all of the commentary going back here on Zillow's new listing standards. And if you're a Florida agent in particular, if you got any other information than what's been publicly shared, I'm sure you're following it closely than we are. It's just something to think about for every state perspective. Love to know your thoughts on that. But BAMFest tomorrow, if you're seeing this.
Ooh.
If you're seeing this on Tuesday, BAMFest, now BAMFest.com. Biggest guest ever.
Bigger than you.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Good.
All right, Nicole.
See you guys.
Keep it real.